Hello friends, welcome to Medical Dew. In this channel, I am going to upload the series of NCERT of Biology. First, we will read the total chapters of 11th Biology, then we will start the 12th Biology section. In 11th Biology, there are total 22 chapters. We are going to read each and every chapter and highlight the important point regarding the NEET exam. There are total 5 units in 11th chapter. First, we will discuss about the diversity in the living world. The first chapter is the living world. Let us discuss about the living world. Biology is the science of life forms and living processes. The living world comprises an amazing diversity of living organisms. Early man could easily perceive the difference between inanimate matter and living organism. Early man defied some of the inanimate matter like wind, sea, fire, etc. and some among the animal and plants. A common feature of all such forms of inanimate and animate object was the sense of awe or fear that they evoked. The description of living organism, including human being, began much later in human history. Societies which indulged in anthropocentric view of biology could register limited process in biological knowledge. Systematic and monumental description of life form brought in out of necessary detailed system of identification, nomenclature and classification. The biggest pain of such studies was the recognition of the sharing of similarity among living organisms, both horizontally and vertically. That all present-day living organisms are related to each other and also to all organisms that ever lived on this earth was a revelation which humbled man and led to cultural movement for conservation of biodiversity. In this following chapter of this unit, you will discuss a description including classification of animals and plants from a taxonomic perspective. First, we will discuss the Ernest Mayr from 1904 to 2004. Born on 5 July 1904 in Captain, Germany, Ernest Mayr, the Harvard University evolutionary biologist who has been called the Darwin of 20th century, was one of the 100 greatest scientists of all time. Mayr joined the Harvard Faculty of Art and Science in 1953 and retired in 1975, assuming the title Alexander Agassiz Professor of Zoology Emeritus. Throughout his nearly 80-year career, his research spanned ornithology, taxonomy, zoo geography, evolution, systematic, and the history and physiology of biology. He almost single-handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that it is today. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of biological species. Mayr was awarded the three prizes widely regarded as the Triple Crown of Biology: the Balzan Prize in 1983, the International Prize for Biology in 1994, and the Crafoord Prize in 1999. Mayr died at the age of 100 in the year of 2004. Let us discuss the chapter first of 11th NCERT, the living world. How wonderful is the living world! The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habitat in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountain, deciduous forest, ocean, freshwater lake, desert, or hot springs leave us speechless. The beauty of a galloping horse, of the migrating bird, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark you walk away, and a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among population of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicate questions within it. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is, as opposed to non-living, and the second is philosophical one and seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. What is living? When we try to define living, we conventionally look for distinctive characteristics exhibited by living organisms. Growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment and mount a suitable response come to our mind immediately as a unique feature of living organisms. One can add a few more features like metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organize, interact, and emergence to this list. Let us try to understand each of these. All living organisms grow. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. This line is important regarding NEET examination. All living organisms grow. Grow means increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. A multicellular organism grow by cell division. In plant, this growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In animal, this growth is seen only up to certain age. However, cell division occurs in certain tissue to replace lost cells. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. One can easily observe this in vitro culture by simply counting the number of cells under the microscope. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. That is, in higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are different things, not the same. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criteria for growth. Mountain, boulders, and sand mounds do grow. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living objects is by accumulation of material on the surface. In living organisms, growth is from inside. Growth therefore cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism, because growth is shown by both living and non-living organisms. Conditions under which it can be observed in all living organisms have to be explained, and then we understand that it is a characteristic of living system. A dead organism does not grow. Reproduction likewise is a characteristic of living organism. In multicellular organism, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. Invariably and implicitly, we refer to sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply and spread easily due to the millions of asexual spores they produce. In lower organisms like yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, flatworm, we observe true regeneration. That is, a fragmented organism regenerates the lost part of its body and become new organism. The fungi, the filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses all easily multiply by fragmentation. When it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, that is, increase in number of cells. In lower organisms, growth and increase in number both are same characters. We have already defined growth as equivalent to increase in cell number or mass. Hence, we notice that in single-celled organism, we are not very clear about the usage of these two terms, growth and reproduction. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce, such as mules, sterile worker bee, infertile human couple etc. Hence, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristics of living organism. Of course, no non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made up of chemicals. These chemicals, small and big, belonging to various class, size and function etc., are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecule. These conversions are chemical reaction or metabolic reaction. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside all living organisms, be they unicellular or multicellular. All plants, animals, fungi and microbes exhibit metabolism. The sum total of all chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. No non-living object exhibits metabolism. Metabolic reaction can be demonstrated outside the body in a cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms, without exception, isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. Hence, cellular organization of the body is defining feature of life forms. Perhaps the most obvious and technically complicated feature of all living organisms is this ability to sense their surrounding or environment and respond to this environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, pollutant, etc. All organisms from the prokaryotic to the most complex eukaryotes can sense and respond to environmental causes. Photoperiod affect reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms handle chemical entering their bodies. All organisms therefore are aware of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is, has self-consciousness. So, consciousness therefore becomes the defining property of living organism. When it comes to human beings, it is all the more difficult to define the living state. We observe patients laying in coma in hospital, virtually supported by machines, which replace heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self-consciousness. Are such patients who never come back to normal life, living or non-living. In higher classes, you will come to know that all living phenomena are due to underlying interaction. Properties of tissue are not present in the constituent cells but arise as a result of interaction among the constituent cells. Similarly, properties of cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constituents of the organelle, but arise as a result of interaction among the molecular component comprising the organelle. These interactions result in emergent properties at the higher level of organizations. This phenomenon is true in the hierarchy of organizational complexity at all levels. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, evolving and self-regulating interactive systems capable of responding to external stimuli. Biology is the story of life on Earth. Biology is the story of evolution of living organisms on Earth. All living organisms, present, past, future, are linked to one another by sharing of the common genetic material but to varying degrees. Let us see the diversity in living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plant, insect, bird, your pets or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observation in, the range and variety of organisms that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that you see represent a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the number and types of organisms present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plant and animals in our own area by their local name. This local name would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of the living organisms, such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called a nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is the only possible when the organism is described correctly and even if we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established the procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plant scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria, which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, that is ICBN. This long form is important of ICBN, that is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, that is ICZN, ICBN for plants, ICZN for animals. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They are ensured that such a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principle to provide scientific name to known organism. Each name has two components. The first is generic name and second is specific epithet. This system of providing name with two components is called a biological nomenclature. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus, while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. These rules are important. First rule is biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Second, the first word in biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Third, both the words in biological name when handwritten are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet. Example at the end of the biological name and written in a abbreviated form. Example is Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient category based on some easily observable character. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs, cats or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs, not cats. Now, if we were to think of Alsatian, we know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external hair and body hair. Likewise in plant, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our mind will be of wheat plant, not of rice or any other plant. Hence all these dogs, cats, mammal, wheat, rice, plant, animal, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at different levels. Plant also forms a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammal are animal. Therefore, animals, mammals and dogs represent taxa at different levels. Hence, based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structure along with the structure of cell development process, ecological information of organism are essential and forms the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationships among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematic was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationships between organisms. Let us see the taxonomic categories. Classification is not a single-step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category, and all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification, in fact represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomic category and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like 3 pairs of jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable concept objects which can be classified and thus were given a rank or category. Can you name other such groups of organisms? Remember, group represent category and category further denote rank. Each rank or taxon in fact represents a unit of classification. These taxonomic group categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum, or division for plant, class, order, family, genus, and species. All organisms, including those in the plant and animal kingdom, have species as the lowest category. How the question you may ask is how to place an organism in various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of an individual or group of organisms. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organism as well as of the other kind of organisms. Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum potato, and Panthera luis loen. All the three names indicate indica, tuberosum, and leu represent the specific epithet, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represent another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum includes species like Nigrum and Melogena. Human beings belong to the species Sapiens, which is grouped in the genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is written as Homo sapiens. Let us see the genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more character in common in comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregate of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belong to the genus Solanum. Lion, Panthera leo, leopard, Panthera paradus, and tiger, Panthera tigris, with several common features, are all species of the genus Panthera. This genus differs from another genus Felis, which includes cats. Let us see the family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera Solanum, Petunia, and Datura are placed in the family of Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with genus Felis, cat, in the family of Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the feature of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some difference as well. They are separated into two different families, Felidae and Canidae respectively. Order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on a number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of character. Order being a higher category is the assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polymoniales, mainly based on the floral characters. The animal order Carnivora include families like Felidae, Canidae. Class. This category includes related orders. For example, order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbon is placed in the class Mammalia along with order Carnivora that include animals like tiger, cat and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Let us see the phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals, constitute the next higher category called a phylum. All this based on the common feature like presence of notochord and dorsal halo neural system are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plant, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to a higher category called a division. So, here you have to understand the phylum or division. The phylum term is used for the animals while the division term is used for the plants. Let us see the kingdom. All animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the higher category called a kingdom, Animalia, in the classification system of animals. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is distinct and comprises all plants from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to these two groups as animals and plant kingdom. The taxonomic category from species to kingdom has been shown in ascending order starting with species in figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in the figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangement? Say for example, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are the characters that the member within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to other taxa at same level. Hence, the problem of classification become more complex. Let us see the table. Figure 1.1. This is for taxonomic categories showing hierarchical arrangement in ascending order. I made trick to remember this chart. Saurabh Ganguly focus on cricket. Saurabh is for species, Ganguly is for genus, focus is for family, on is for order, cricket is for class. Then these two you have to remember: phylum for animal, division for plants, and then kingdom. And this arrangement is in ascending order. And the another important line is lower the taxa, more is the common characters. Here they have mentioned here the lower the taxa, more are the characteristics that the member within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to the other taxa at the same level. These two lines are very important. Let us see the table which indicate the taxonomic category to which some common organism like housefly, mango, man and weed belong. Organism with their taxonomic categories. Man. Then we see biological name, genus, family, order, class, phylum. For animals, division for plants. Let us see man. Biological name is Homo sapiens, genus Homo, family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, and phylum is Chordata. Housefly, Musca domestica, Musca, Muscidae, Diptera, insect, Orthopoda. Mango. Biological name is Mangifera indica, genus Mangifera, family Anacardiaceae, order Sapindus, class Dicotyledone, phylum Angiospermae. Wheat. Biological name Triticum avistum, genus Triticum, family Poaceae, order Poles, class Monocotyledon, and division is Angiospermae. Let us see the taxonomical aid, the last part of this chapter. Taxonomic studies of various species of plants, animals, and other organisms are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general in knowing our bioresources and their diversity. These studies would require correct classification and identification of organisms. Identification of organisms requires intensive laboratory and field studies. The collection of actual specimens of plant and animal species is essential, as is the prime source of taxonomic studies. These are also fundamental to studies and essential for training in systematics. It is used for classification of an organism, and the information gathered is also stored along with the specimens. In some cases, the specimens is preserved for future studies. Biologists have established certain procedures and techniques to store and preserve the information as well as the specimens. Some of these are explained to help you understand the usage of these aids. First, we will see the herbarium. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed, and preserved on sheet. Further, these sheets are arranged according to a universally accepted system of classification. These specimens, along with their description on the herbarium sheet, become a storehouse or repository for future use. The herbarium sheet also carry a label providing information about the date and place of collection, English, local, and botanical name, family, collector name, etc. Herbaria also serve as quick reference system in taxonomic studies. Let us see the botanical gardens. These specialized gardens have collection of living plants for reference. Plant species in these gardens are grown for identification purpose, and each plant is labeled indicating its botanical scientific name and its family. The famous botanical gardens are at New England, Indian Botanical Garden, Haworth, India, and at a National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow, India. Let us see the museum. Biological museums are generally set up in educational institutes such as schools and colleges. Museums have collection of preserved plant and animal specimens for the study and reference. Specimens are preserved in the container or jar in preservative solutions. Plant and animal specimens may also be preserved as dry specimens. Insects are preserved in insect boxes after collecting, killing, and pinning. Larger animals like birds and animals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums often have collection of skeletal of animals also. Let us see the zoological parks. These are the places where wild animals are kept in protected environment under human care and which enable us to learn about their food habitat and behavior. All animals in a zoo are provided as far as possible the conditions similar to their natural habitat. Children love visiting this part called zoos. Keys. Key is the another taxonomical aid used for identification of plant and animals. Based on the similarities and dissimilarities, the keys are based on the contrasting character, generally in a pair called a couplet. This is important. The pair of contrasting character is called a couplet. It represents the choice made between two opposite options. These result in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in the key called a lead. Separate taxonomic keys are required for each taxonomic category, such as family, genus, and species, for identification purpose. Keys are generally analytical in nature. Flora, manuals, monograph, and catalog are some other means of recording description. They also help in correct identification. Flora contains the actual account of habitat and distribution of plant of a given area. These provide the index to the plant species found in a particular area. Manuals are useful in providing information for identification of names of species found in an area. Monograph contain information of any one taxon. Mono and single. To remember one taxon. Let us see the summary of this chapter. The living world is rich in variety. Millions of plants and animals have been identified and described, but a large number still remain unknown. The very range of organisms in terms of size, color, habitat, physiology and morphological features make us seek the defining characteristics of living organisms. In order to facilitate the study of kind and diversity of organisms, biologists have evolved certain rules and principles for identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. The branch of knowledge dealing with these aspects is referred to as taxonomy. The taxonomic studies of various species of plants and animals are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general for knowing, naming, and classification of organisms. Are universally evolved under international codes. Based on the resemblance and distinct difference, each organism is identified and assigned a correct scientific biological name, comprising two words as per the binomial system of nomenclature. An organism occupies a place or a position in the system of classification. There are many categories ranked and are generally referred to as taxonomic category or taxa. All the categories constitute a taxonomic hierarchy. Taxonomists have developed a variety of taxonomic aids to facilitate identification, naming, and classification of organisms. These studies are carried out from the actual specimens which are collected from the field and preserved as a referral in the form of herbaria, museum, and in botanical gardens and zoological parks. It requires special techniques for collection and preservation of specimens in herbaria and museum. Live specimens, on the other hand, of the plants and animals are found in the botanical gardens or in zoological parks. Taxonomists also prepare and disseminate information through manuals and monographs for further taxonomic studies. Taxonomic keys are tools that help in identification based on characteristics. In this way, we saw the chapter Living World. So, if you like the video, then please subscribe to the channel Medical Duo. In next video, we will see the next chapter of NCERT. Thank you.